Let's try this again. Oh, you guys. Okay. Um, like I said before, well, y'all didn't hear me before. It's been a while since I've done Facebook Live, and they have updated some things, and I was trying to get my streaming software to connect to this. But we're here, I'm on, and I'm going to say right off, we're going to just jump right in because I'm going to post this over to my YouTube sewing channel so that everybody over there can watch. And I know, like, it's so annoying, and I'm doing it now, when you click on a how-to video and they talk forever. And I don't want that, so I'm going to talk probably later. But today, guys, we're going to be making these microwavable bowl koozies. I do sell these, and these are one of my #1 sellers in my Etsy shop. And so since they're so popular, I thought, you know what if there's other creators out there, other crafters out there, or maybe you just want to make them for friends or family. I'm going to show you how I make them and then how I get them packaged and shipped. I do appreciate everybody that all my Etsy customers. I do appreciate you so much. And anything you click on through this Facebook page from my store will take you to the Etsy shop. You're not actually checking out their Facebook. It's just easier for me to keep up with my inventory that way. But y'all, these were like, for the past 2 years, these have been such a blessing to me because I sell so many. And that may be also because I sell them buy 3, get 1 free. So kind of an incentive to choose me. So this is the actual one we're making. I'm making one because a customer had ordered it, and that's what we're going to do today. So like I said, I'm going to be posting this over on the YouTube channel for the crafters over there to watch. And this is what you're going to need. Hopefully this will pick up my work table. I hope I don't have another issue. I got here earlier and it wouldn't let me, there we go. Okay. It's just delayed. So what you're going to need to make your bowl koozies is you're going to need 2 patterns. You're going to need 2 prints, or maybe the same print. You could do the same print. And I have this, it's about a 10.5 and 10.5 ruler, little square, a template that I use, that I cut my patterns out because it's so easy to just, cut a bunch at one time. And then you are going to need 2 pieces of batting. Now, this is so important. You can either use 100% cotton batting or quilting, or you can use the Wrap and Zap that you can totally get at Walmart. But if you're going to Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that, if you're getting a batting, make sure it's 100% cotton, because if you don't, polyester will totally catch on fire, and you do not want that. So you're going to need 2 pieces of these, and as you can see, I kind of cut them a little bit smaller around the edges, and then 2 pieces of fabric. And this, so I got my pieces ready to go. So we're going to just work with one at a time. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold it in half, just like that. These are so simple. You guys aren't going to believe how simple these are. You're going to fold it just like that. Okay. And so since I have made, honestly, you guys, I have made thousands of these, and I say this because I've been sewing them for probably 3 years, and every year I sew lots. One order I got, just one order last year, a company ordered 400 alone. So I'm honestly going to say I have sold thousands of these. So I know exactly how to cut. But for the purpose of this video, you're going to want to get, like, you could use, if this would work, tailor's chalk, a marking pen, and a ruler. And might be easier for me to use my square. You're going to want to measure. So it depends on how big inside you're going to want your bowl, okay? And I like mine pretty big. I don't like them real small and closed like this because there are some ice cream bowls that are bigger. So I like to make mine a little bigger. And so my dimensions usually run about 1.5 across the top. So I'm going to put this about 1.5 across the top, and then about 2 down. So I'm going to turn it just like that, and I'm going to make my mark, and that's not going to work. I'm going to use this. I'm going to make my mark because this is where I know I'm going to sew my line. And then I'm going to flip it over just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing. So you're going to want to measure about 1.5 to up here and about 2 down. And if you want your bowls a little deeper or a little wider or a little smaller, you would make your own adjustments according to how you want your bowl koozie. Okay, so you would do that just like that, and then you're going to want to fold it over on the other side, and you're going to want to do it again. So that way, when you're at your sewing machine, you know exactly where to sew your bowl koozie. So I'm going to make this mark. I'll flip it over. Make this other mark. Just like that. Okay. Now I know kind of where to cut or where to sew. So now we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we are going to sew along our lines. All right. So I'm using a white cotton thread here, and I got my sewing machine set on about a 4 for my stitch length. It's kind of long. If you wanted it tighter for the corners right here, you could set yours however you wanted yours. But then you're just going to start back stitch in the beginning. You're going to sew along that line that you just created, and then I always back stitch and then finish it out, and then I cut it. And then next year what you're going to do is you're going to cut along. Let's see if I can show you. You're going to cut along just next to your seam, just like that, if you can see that. And then you're going to do that on all of your sides. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to flip it over, back stitching at the front and the beginning. And I say that because you don't want to flip this out and then your stitches come out. It doesn't hold. Okay, so now you're going to have like a bowl shape like this. Okay, so then these two, just like this, are going to come together. And then you're going to fold this in half, and you're going to do the other side. These are so easy. However, I do realize that not everybody likes to sew or has a sewing machine. Okay, I'm going to do the other one, and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to eyeball it because I kind of know where it goes right here on my sewing machine because I've done it so many times. So that's why I'm not making the marks on this one. But if you are unfamiliar with the process and you want to get, that perfect bowl koozie, make marks. I trim off all the corners as I go. So here again, let me show you once more. You're going to see that I sewed the two sides here, and then they are going to come together, and then I'm going to fold this in half. I hope this isn't too close. Let me see if I can push y'all back a little bit. I'm going to fold them together. See how it's kind of sandwiched? And I'm going to line up my ends, finger crease here, and just kind of push it down, and then I'll sew that part. Okay, once more. Make sure that my ends and my crease. So I want this right here to be touching, and then I want to put my ends together and crease so that everything lines up perfectly. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to open this up just like this. Let me see if I can turn you around. I think you're not really getting the... You're going to open it up, and it's going to be in bowl form, just like this. And then you're going to take your other one, you're going to open it up, and you're going to flip it out. So you're going to want right sides together. So you're going to set this right down inside your other one. You're going to fit it in there really nicely, and you're going to tuck the ends down. You're going to make sure the seams on each of these little corners are perfect in alignment, and you're going to want to match up your edges before we get started to sewing this. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to make sure everything's lined up. So see, these are lined up just like that, and then my other seams are lined up, and that gives you the perfect fitting on your bowl koozie. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to sew at this corner. I'm going to leave an opening right here. So I'm going to sew at this corner and come down and sew all the way around my bowl koozie until I come up on this side, and then I'm going to stop and leave an opening for turning right here. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to sew all the way around this bowl koozie. You're going to want to back stitch at the beginning and pivot and turn, and you can kind of just tuck it all, kind of tuck it together to make sure that your corners and edges stay together. So I kind of just do a fitting as I go around to make sure nothing's moved. I'm doing about that looks more than like a fourth. About a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8. Seam allowance, probably 3/8 on this one. Okay, now on my last little thing, and what I like to do is I've got this thread that's just irritating, right? Because it's leftover. So I go ahead and trim it off. I trim it off when I get to this part. Then I sew down. And then here's where I pivot, and I don't completely sew it up. I leave that about 1 inch space so that we can turn it. Clip off your thread, and then here is my opening right here, and then we just turn it inside out. Yes, you're going to be able to turn all of this stuff inside out. So here it is, and I'm just going to work it through, and I'm going to pull it out just like that. Now you're going to want to poke out all your corners and just kind of work the fabric. I even take my scissors and I gently, very gently, poke out the corners. Very gently poke out the corners. Just work it and smooth it out. You could clip your corners on the inside. I know some of you are probably like, you didn't clip. But I don't have a bunch of bulk, so I didn't do that. If you have a bunch of bulk, you're going to want to clip those corner edges, and I probably should have showed you in case you're new, but for this, mine don't get too bulky. So I'm just kind of smoothing it out and working the bowl koozie. And then I'm going to find the opening. So here is the opening right here. This is where we're wanting to sew this down. So if it's not already, you're going to be able to just take your fingers and kind of crease it and then put it together just like that. And then you're going to want to sew. So I always start at my opening if I can, so that way I get it perfectly aligned and you can't even tell that this was the opening. So when you look at the bowl koozie, it's like, oh wow, you know, everything just matches. So I lay it down flat and I make sure that it's going to line up. The fabric is going to line up, and I crease it, and then I begin to stitch it, top stitch it down. And then you want to back stitch. Don't forget the back stitching. That's so very important if you don't want your project to come unraveled. Nice top stitch pretty close to the edge on this. And I use a longer stitch length, and I do that because a longer stitch length will give it a more finished look. And so if you want that more finished look, this is where you would lengthen your stitch length. Okay, pivot. Smooth it down as you go, like smooth your edges down as you go to make sure everything's, you know, good. Okay, since I'm back to this corner, I don't know why I do this, but I do. I take that thread, that pesky thread that's flopping around, and I go ahead and I just trim it off. I just clip it off, just like that. Now, I'm on the last corner here, so I'm going to flip this up to show you. Right here is where this is going to meet the beginning stitch, right here. So when I get here, I am not going to clip it. I'm going to pivot, and I'll show you what I do. So I have now come to, let me see if I can pull you closer, if you can see that. I am now meeting the stitch where I first began, right here. And I am going to lift my presser foot, and I'm going to pivot this at an angle because I am going to stitch this in the center. And I'm going to come to this point here, right here, so that I've got a center stitch. And that is to hold this bowl koozie in place. As you are, like if you need to wash this, if you didn't have a center stitch holding it in place, it could just bulk up, and the batting might, you know, bulk up, and you're not going to be able to smooth it or iron it back down. So I like to do this here. So I pivot, I don't cut, and I'm going to sew all the way across. And I use a focal point, so I kind of hold my batting down like I smooth it down in the center. And I smooth it down. And then I hold this. I hold this because it's like, this is my goal. This is where I'm going. This is my goal. So I fold it, and then I come all the way to the end. I don't know if my camera's going to go that far to show you. I probably just messed it up. Oh no. Did I just mess it up? No. Oh no. Let me see if I can refresh this. I shouldn't have moved it. It's so, there we go. Is it on? Okay. I shouldn't have moved it. I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. Forgive me, y'all. All right. Now I'm going to lift my presser foot. Y'all are really close. And I'm going to pull it out and trim. And I'm going to trim it really close to the... There we go. Now that we've got this center line stitched, we're going to do it same to the other side. So I'm going to start at one of the tips, and I'm going to sew all the way up to the other tip. So here's the one we just did, and now we're going to make an X. We're going to do the other one. So you want to start, like, put your needle down into the starting point at the tip, which will give it a cleaner look. Then you're going to want to make sure that you backstitch. And then just kind of smooth it down and sew all the way across. When I get to the center, I stop and I assess and I make sure that I'm going straight and I'm headed to the other end of the corner. And then I backstitch. Cut that off. And then we're going to cut off at the other end. I have some snippers, but I'm just going to use my scissors today. All right, let's go back to the table because we are done. We're done with it. All right, you guys, how easy was that? Oh my gosh. So maybe you are an expert already at bowl koozies, and maybe I did it a different way than you, because when I first started making these in the beginning, here, I've got some orders I need to make. Let me just show you. In the beginning, I used to go ahead and put my batting on and then go ahead and do the X's in the middle and then sew them together. But from my personal experience, when I did that and I would wash our bowl koozies, they would actually separate. But when you sew them in the middle, like we just did, and we sew it together, these aren't going to come apart in the wash. So you're able to, what I would do now is I would press it down. So I actually have an order here, and this is going to go in that order. I would press it down to kind of give it a cleaner, crisper, you know, look. So these are so cool. Now, let me show you how I need to hide that. Let me show you. This is one that took advantage of my buy 3, get 1 free order. So I will go through and I'll make sure that she's got a vintage floral right here. I've already done them. This is my vintage floral. And then a heritage floral. These are the Pioneer Woman. I love that. And then a washi trayless is one we just did. And then 1 Marvel Comics. And so I make sure that I've got them all in there. I make sure that she got her shop discount. If she ordered more than $35 worth, she would have got free shipping, but she did not. And then I sign it. Thank you. Because I do appreciate the orders. I'm going to go ahead and fold that up. I might need to blur that out. And then I have these plastic bags, and this is how I fold mine. I fold them in half like this. Like, I just fold them in half, just like that. And then I stick them down. And then I have these instructions that go right inside there. And the purpose of me showing you this is so that if you are an entrepreneur and you have a shop, and or maybe you're getting started and you really don't know how to package, or you're not really sure what you want to do, this would be a good way for you to get an idea. Or if you're a customer and you're watching this, you're totally seeing how your packages are made. So some people have stickers and all kinds of things that they put in theirs. I am going to put the instructions in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and fold these very nicely so that when the customer gets them, they're not all, they'll just open up and be nice. They're not all shoved down in a bag. And I'll just poke them down in here, and they'll be protected in case something happens to the packaging. Hope not. And then I seal them up just like this. And then I have these little poly bags, these cute thank you poly bags that I like to use. And since her address is on the other side, I'm not gonna, let me just, and I slip it down in there. Just like that. And then it has the, whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Stick the invoice in there. And if you have stickers or you have other little things that you want to stick down in there, now is the time. And then we just seal it, and it's ready to go. And this is how I would ship them. And I love these bags because they're so lightweight. They're waterproof, and they just hold up. They hold up. So I really, really like to use these bags. So this is how your package would come from me if you ordered from my store. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Comment and let me know. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll have all the links down in the description if you want to actually come over to this Facebook page that we're on right now, the Facebook Live, and you want to join the live streams. There will be a link to this Facebook page in the description. So